morning, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah, Wachera. I hope you guys are excited to face your day and you have said your morning affirmation. As you grab your cup of coffee or tea or whatever you're having for the morning and sitting on the couch, I hope you guys are ready to get information in this conversation. For now, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. Today we are going to have a conversation that affects most of the youths. It's something that has caused youths to be addicted, also to be depressed, and also to die by suicide. And today we are going to have a guest who is a familiar face here and who will be helping us understand the conversation of the day. So the topic of the day today will be speaking about gambling addiction. As I said, it's something that we've seen youths out here really suffering. Inafanya hadi wakuwe na mental health issues simply because of doing gambling addiction. So to help us through this conversation, we have a guest here who is not new in this space, and I would like to introduce him, or for him to introduce himself, because nimekuwa nikimintroduce sana. At this time I want him to sikia sauti yake before we start the conversation. So karibu sana.
Asante.
Please feel at home. Already this is your home right now, yeah? Mm-hmm. So please look at the camera. Tell us who you are.
Okay, so my name is Dennis Waweru. I'm a psychologist, and I'm happy to be here to discuss more about gambling.
Karibu sana. It's always a pleasure having you here. So to start our conversation, it's good for us to understand what gambling addiction is. So please take us there.
Okay, so gambling addiction. Well, I think it's best to start with what gambling is, because you have to understand the term before you understand how people get addicted to it and what is the addiction, you know. So gambling is simply the practice of betting. And as with life is very unpredictable, you know.
Yeah. And
you don't have, it's not made of givens. Things can go one way or another. And to be able to predict these outcomes, some people have come up with ways that are rather lucrative of benefiting from these predictions. We've always predicted, you know, from time immemorial. You see clouds, will it rain? You make a prediction based on what you see. It either will rain or it won't. You see rain, will it flood? Based on what you know, you make a prediction. It will flood or it won't. Okay? So, making that prediction, there are people that have made it a business to based on that prediction. You'll rain, whether it will rain or not, I'll give you $50 if it rains. And you'll give me $50 if it doesn't. So that is gambling. Gambling is putting up a stake on something that is not a given. Basically, it's what betting is. And it becomes an addiction when it starts being problematic to your life in one way or another. So basically, gambling addiction can be described as when the habit becomes problematic. It falls under a cluster of addictions that are called behavioral addictions. Mm-hmm. They're called behavioral addictions because they do not fit into the classified set of drugs that are known. You know, they don't have any known chemical they do not have any non-chemical changes, no, not changes, any non-chemical influences. They do not influence the body chemically to behave in a particular way.
But through a behavior.
Yes, so you get addicted because of the behavior changes and the behavior patterns that tend to grow around that habit.
So addiction is more of a gambling addiction is more of a behavioral type of addiction,
Yes.
right? And I hope you guys are really following along with this conversation, because as I started, it's something that is really affecting us as a society right now. And so many people you'll find them even in different places, because there are gambling sites or physical places that have been put by people for them to just go do gambling. And you can find youths spending their whole time there from morning to evening, just being there, just waiting as they do gambling. And it's important for us to just understand how much this affects us, right? Anyway, we talk about addiction, and definitely what comes in our head is usually, what are the symptoms? How can I know this person is addicted? So let's go there. How or what are the signs and symptoms of addiction, mostly the gambling addiction?
Okay, so before we go to the signs and symptoms, I think nowadays gambling is not for the youth, because if you turn on a random radio station, you will hear them talking about some form of gambling. Give us 99 shillings, we'll give you 1 million in return.
Yeah.
That is gambling.
Yeah.
So, and nowadays, although I stand to be corrected in this, young people don't listen to the radio. The radio is a reserve for the aged and the aging. Okay? So you find that, and they play pretty much compulsively, without a sense of control. Therefore, gambling is not only a preserve for the youth, it affects everyone. And the thing with gambling, as I said, it's obsessive and it is compulsive. Once you start it, it's very hard to stop, and you always feel that urge and that push to keep on doing it. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'll explain that in a few, I think, as the show goes on. But as you've asked, the signs and symptoms that one might be having a problem around gambling. Number one, it's secrecy, because someone wants to surprise them,
Yeah.
And nowadays, the urge to make it, that societal pressure to be successful is making it very, very easy for people to fall into gambling, because everyone wants to make it. And nowadays the problem is, it's something that, unlike drugs, which most of which are prohibited by government, gambling is supported because it's a very big tax for the government. So you'll find it everywhere. You'll find advertisements on gambling. You'll find people who've won the ordeal being paraded on, television and other forms of media. And they make it look lucrative. If this one won 1 million and is just an ordinary person, is doing whatever he does, there's nothing special about him. What's different for you? You can try and win it. Okay?
Yeah.
There are even advertisements that to help you fuel the behavior, they give you perks, cashbacks, the opportunity for you to cash out, and so on and so forth. Okay?
Yeah.
Therefore, it keeps that person there. So number one, there is that urge for secrecy, and you'll find that this person will not really do it, may not do it when he's with other people. It's something that someone may do it alone because they want something. They want a reward of some sort. Okay?
Yeah.
The other one is, there is an unexplained loss of funds. and this person begins to lose things. The thing with gamblers, at least by the orthodox explanation of it, is they don't really, people, especially people that are suffering from, the people that are struggling with the addiction, is they do not really keep material possessions. Okay? Because you see, the thing with gambling is the system is set in a way that you lose periodically. Okay? You cannot win all the time. You lose periodically. It runs around probability. And nowadays, the computer algorithms are set in a way that winning or losing is somewhere close to 50-50. Okay?
Yeah.
Therefore, you win one, you lose three. Actually, it's somewhere far from 50-50 because you win one, lose three. Therefore, all your winnings in this one, you'll end up losing them in the three. You may end up losing them in the three and then some. Okay? And also, it gives that urge to keep betting, because since you've won, there is a possibility you will win again and again and again and again. Okay?
Yeah.
So you'll end up seeing people diverting funds meant for other important things to the gambling, because if I put 100 and then I won 5,000, what will happen if I put 15,000 shillings? The truth is, you may lose all of it, but there is also a chance you'll win 1,000,000.
Yeah.
Okay? So, so people won't see this end of losing all of it. People will see this end of the million. Because they've just won. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll explain perhaps later what it does to the psychology of the person, but currently there is that urge of secrecy, there is an unexplainable loss of money, and then there are other problems that come around with the cycle of gambling. You know, this is marital problems, financial issues, the problems at the place of work, because again, gambling takes time.
And I want us to just take a pause there, because I'm sure if you continue speaking, you'll be going into our next question, which I want us to really understand, because it's an important aspect of our conversation. But before that, remember this show is proudly brought to you by Miss Your Ashen as well as Younib organization, and we're trying to reach out to the community to ensure that your mental health, your mental well-being, or that of your friend or your family member is well taken care of. And that is why we are offering free counseling for people around Jiro location, and then to help them actually be able to just work on their mental health issues. You can always contact our psychologist through the number 0700-352-250, and they will be able to help you out. And you can always interact with us through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen, 0719-144-144. For now, let's take a short break and we'll be back speaking about now the effects of gambling addiction to individuals and also to families. Don't touch the dial. We'll be right back. welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah Wachera, and my lovely guest, Dennis. And we are here to speak about gambling addiction. As I said, or as we've been told through the first segment of the show, that this gambling does not really affect youths alone, but also everyone. Like it's across all boards. It's something that is affecting our country and also our society at large, right? So before the break, I had said we are going to be answering the effects of gambling addiction on individuals and their families. So let's get to that.
Okay, so effects of gambling addiction to individuals and their families. One, I've said there is a certain loss that comes with the funds. As I was saying, the programs are normally put in such a way that you cannot win all the time. And actually, nowadays, because of this urge to look for quick fixes, you need 100 shillings in 3 minutes. What do? You go to a theater and look for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay? So, because of that urge for that quick fix, you'll see many people going there. And the thing is, you can get that 100 shillings in 3 minutes, but you can also lose 100 shillings in the same 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it makes it faster, it makes it quicker and easier for you to lose money. And if you're losing money, that means you'll have to look for some other money, funds somewhere for you to gamble. Because the thing with gambling is, there's this thing that a lecturer of mine used to call the gambler's fallacy. Thinking that the next time you'll win.
Yeah.
Even if you do it 100 times, the next time you'll win, the next time you'll win, the next time. Okay?
Yeah.
So you find that with that, you'll do, okay, let me sell this TV and I will gamble half so that I can get 2 times the amount of that TV, half of which I'll go and pay the debts, then I'll buy another TV and put it there. Okay?
Yeah.
So you'll end up, it's a whole cycle. So you go sell, go lose the money, then come back. And then I'll go to my friend, hi, kindly loan me a certain amount, then I will give it back to you with interest. Because maybe you placed your house rent and you lost it.
Yeah.
So the landlord is on your neck and you need money. So since you need to invest this money so that it can give you returns as quickly as possible so that I can pay you and pay my landlord, I'll have to take it there. Then I take it there and then I lose it. What happens to us? We become enemies because I'll start dodging you.
Yeah.
Since I have your money. Okay? That is 2. 3, you find that the things that would have been committed to luxury, and taking care of oneself, they're neglected, because you don't have the capacity to do it. You don't have the capacity to take care of yourself because where is all your money going? There. Number 4, these things do take time. Okay?
Yeah.
It takes time to gamble, it takes time to bet. It takes time to analyze everything, it takes time to wait for the right moment. It takes a lot of time. So this time you ought to be doing something different. See? So this time that you're using in betting, you could have been in your job somewhere doing something. You could have been focusing on family. So it leads to some sense of neglect on other important areas of life. Someone cannot concentrate on their job well, therefore they cannot deliver. Someone cannot concentrate on their family well, so there's a sense of neglect coming from the loved ones of this person.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So you find that if you cannot deliver on your job, what happens? You end up losing it. You end up losing this job because of gambling and related disorders. Okay? Therefore, it affects the family in a lot of ways and the individual in a lot of ways. And I guess unless we start doing a gambling addiction series, I cannot exhaust them all in one show.
Okay, but I think we have gotten to understand specifically how it affects an individual and also the family. You know, if you lose finances, you end up being, you don't pay your rent, you end up being homeless. You see, so there's always an effect that will be running down or coming back to you in one or another when it comes to gambling addiction, right? So let's go to how, because we know here we are really open or we are really specific when it comes to mental health. So how does gambling addiction really affect the psychological side of or factors, and how does it contribute to gambling addiction?
Okay. So what gambling does to your brain? Your brain is very funny. You know, it relies on chemicals. It relies on some certain chemicals to maintain your mood, to maintain the general feeling and behavior of what makes your day run the way it runs. Okay?
Yeah.
And the thing with these chemicals is there are certain ways to influence their release and their uptake. Okay? One of these chemicals is dopamine. It is, we can call it, for the sake of the show, we can call it the achievement chemical. It's that chemical that is released when you achieve something, when you feel good. Okay?
Yeah.
And the thing, and that is, normally these chemicals are there to help you survive. They are evolutionary in nature. Therefore, you find that these chemicals are secreted every time you achieve something, every time you win. Okay? So when you bet or when you do any other thing that can give you a sense of achievement, that hormone is released. Okay? But the thing with learning is there is something called okay, your body gets a sense of, it gets used to that chemical being produced. Therefore, you start going for more riskier ways to get more of that chemical, okay,
Yeah.
to be produced. So it's called dependence. So when your brain starts depending on the production of that chemical, that means you cannot stick without this particular behavior because you'll keep on chasing that high. That is what happens with drugs, and that is generally the cycle of addiction. Okay? So what happens is when you start gambling, you've won. You feel good that you've won. So what do? You stake more. So when you stake more, you lose. What do? You'll stake again to try and recover this loss. And you start doing it again and again and again. Okay?
Yeah.
So you'll find that when you're bored or when you're low, what will you turn to make you feel, to lift your spirits? You'll turn to that thing that you know gives you that high. And if it's gambling in this case, you'll start gambling. Okay?
Yeah.
When you haven't had such a good day, what do? You still turn to it.
Yeah.
Okay? So it creates a system where you're dependent on whatever the medium is to try and uplift yourself. And that is the psychological effect that it may have on the person. Because you may find that this person, number one, will become compulsive. You know, it's something that comes, and the person won't even, when the feeling comes, this person won't even think twice about doing it. They'll just do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Secondly, look at the effect that all these physical effects have on this person. You know, this person doesn't have the money or the financial resources to do it. Okay?
Yeah.
He's borrowed from everyone. He's even sold these things. What is going on in this person's mind? Okay, this person is in a very low mood, perhaps even is battling depression because he doesn't have money. How will he solve all these things? Okay. Number 2, look at the issue of neglect. This person does not have a job. This person's family ran away from him, and so on and so forth. Yeah. You see, it takes a mental toll on this person because everything else, it gives this person this feeling of aloneness. Everyone ran away from me because I was gambling, and I can't really control it. I can't really put a stop to it. Therefore, it affects this person psychologically in that it becomes triggering factor for the increase of mental health disorders.
Okay, so I hope we've gotten to understand now how it affects our mind, how gambling affects our own mental health, psychologically speaking. So I want us to take this short break as we think about also why should we stop gambling? And also, I would like to pose a question to you guys. Do you think that we should ban gambling in Kenya? Just let's think about that. Then we'll come back with more conversations. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show, and today we're speaking about gambling addiction, which is affecting almost everyone in this country, right? And it's good for us to just understand how it affects all of us, and that is why we're doing this. We're having this conversation today, right? And before the break, I had asked you guys if you would prefer to ban gambling, and I don't know what you guys are saying, but I hope I'll get your responses and maybe sample them here as we finish up the show if time allows. But let's get back to the conversation. So, what are some of the strategies to prevent a gambling addiction?
I think, as I've said, it's a behavioral addiction. This is something that comes as a result of habit. Okay. Therefore, some of the strategies of preventing or trying to manage because really you can't prevent something that is a behavior.
Yeah.
You can only manage it. So some of the strategies is, first, look for a way to manage unhealthy, rather, or look for a way to manage those feelings the time that you're low. Because one of the things that makes people gamble is the so-called pressures of life. Okay? So if you look for an alternative, healthier way to manage, you will find that you won't keep having the compulsive feeling to gamble. Okay?
Yeah.
Secondly, as I've said, one of the things that normally points out a gambler to you is some sense of secrecy, and the effect that may come up with the uncontrollable gambling behavior is isolation. So you find that you're spending a lot of time alone, you're spending a lot of time on your phone. So you can look for something to do to take care of that time. You know, if it's your friend group, if it's just something else that doesn't deal with that. Thirdly, gambling, in as much as it is a compulsive decision, it's a decision nonetheless. Okay?
Yeah.
So you find that you can choose to either substitute, defer the decision to a later time, or it is substitute, defer, or avoid it altogether. This is how. We've already talked about substituting. You can defer it to a later time. You can say you'll do it, say, in the next 2 hours. If you say you'll do it in the next 2 hours and you have other things in the middle, chances are by the time these 2 hours are lapsing, you'll either not remember or it won't have the same compulsion that you had. If you say you'll do it the following day, take football for example, if you say you'll do it the following day and there are teams that were informing your compulsion to gamble, those teams will already have played. So will you have a reason to gamble? No. Okay?
Yeah.
Also, since it's a decision, try to think about consequences, if any. You know?
Yeah.
Try to look at it long term. You know, I had a TV before all this started, now I don't have one. I had a wife, she went back home. You know?
Yeah.
I had my life, in as much as it had problems, it has perhaps had more problems as a result. So try and think of it from a consequence point of view and avoid rationalizing, you know. And actually I should have said this in the beginning. The best way to start tackling a problem is admitting that you have a problem. You know, stop rationalizing, stop saying it's people, stop saying it's not too much money. Stop saying all that, because it not being too much money will end up being too much money in the end.
Okay, so I hope you guys have gotten to receive or to get strategies to be able to manage gambling addiction. So I want you to just look at the camera and maybe give a word of advice to people who are addicted to gambling.
Okay, so dear pilots and everyone in between, well, it's almost a way of life now, and it is okay to admit that it happens. Actually, once you admit it, you'll come to realize that there are so many other people like you who are trying to be pilots and other that are somewhat excelling in that. But the thing with gambling is it's a game of probability, you know. That means just because someone did it doesn't mean that you will. And at the end of the day, the house will always win. That's a thing in betting, and it's a thing that people will never tell you. The person that wins when it comes to gambling is the betting company. It's the betting sites that you visit. Okay, because you've won 10,000, that means someone has lost 30,000 somewhere. That's why they are giving you 10 and pocketing 20. Okay, so I guess it is good to first admit that there is a problem. Second, in the event that you need help, there are various therapy and therapeutic techniques that can be used to try and detach from this. This is in case you feel a sense of powerlessness or an inability to stop with the gambling behavior, irrespective of the negative consequences that it has brought to you and to your family. Therefore, this is not the end. If people have somewhat deserted you, or if people have, distanced themselves from you, it is not the end. It is not a lack of willpower, and it does not. It can affect anyone, irrespective of the age, status, intelligence. It can affect anyone. Therefore, it is not a personal projection on you or on your abilities or inabilities. Therefore, feel free to seek help, and it is possible to manage that behavior. That's all.
So feel free to seek help. Feel free to seek help. That has been quite a good advice you have given to the youths and to everyone out there who's going through gambling addiction. So thank you so much for coming, for enlightening us on matters gambling addiction. I know it has a lot that we can speak about, yeah? And I think we will maybe do this conversation, also continue this conversation, because it's something that we cannot just start and just stop. It's something that affects our society, and it's something that we need to start spreading awareness on so that we can help as many people as possible to stop it. I remember a while back, there's somebody who said that gambling is like addiction to illegal substances, yeah? And it's the same, it's the same level to just being addicted to any drug abuse. To any drug that has been abused out there. So as we think about it, let's think, also I had given you guys a question, should we ban it? Because it's something that many people have done research and are saying that it's bad for everyone. So for now, I want to thank everyone who has made this show a success. To our camera person, Elias Mushina, as well as our director, thank you so much. And being assisted by Daisy, asanteni sana. And for everyone who has been working behind the scene to make this show a success, asanteni sana. To you, our viewers, for always calling in and always giving us advice, giving us your stories, we are really, really grateful, because through that we see we are reaching to you guys, and that is why we are here. So until our next show, do have a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.